Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about Git hooks and what are they and how we can benefit from them. As you know, Git is a distributed version control system which is used by pretty much most people, most software engineers, like in 2022, or we're going to say 2023 in a few days. So pretty much whoever is using version control, Git is maybe the majority of the market, the majority of the engineers are using this Git. And pretty much if you use like in a GitLab, Bitbucket, or any other sort of websites that they provide version control, like GitHub, behind the scene, they are using Git. So maybe then it's good to find out more about what happened in a Git hooks and what are Git hooks. Git is also very good example of 80-20 rules. So for example, by knowing 20% of the commands, you can do pretty much 80% of work with Git. So as long as you know how to add something to the Git and then commit it and then push or clone, you're just good to go. So maybe all you need to know is git add, git commit, git merge, git rebase, maybe git push, git clone, and that's pretty much it, even though Git has a lot more to offer. So if you look at, for example, Git reference, you can see you can do pretty much a lot of things that I have never worked with, and pretty much I am not going to need to work with any of them unless very specific occasion, and it will be the same for a lot of you as well. So let's talk about hooks. That's why we're here. Hooks are basically a runnable or executable file that Git uses between running any of these commands. For example, if you commit something, then you can just check for the commit message. The video we have about Git commit conventions or conventional commits is using that technique. Or for example, before committing something, you want to check if all the tests are passing, or if you're using JavaScript project, you want to run ESLint to make sure you are linting your project, then commit something. If you merge something to main branch, then you want, for example, to notify some people or do something. It's just open for imagination. You can do pretty much anything you want. And if you go to, for example, again, Git website, and then if you look for the Git hooks, you are going to land to this page, and it's going to explain you what are the hooks and how you can use them. And again, the same thing is here as well. So if you look for the Git hooks, then you're gonna see the same thing. Don't worry about these links. I'm gonna put them in a comment in a description section, and then you can just use them if you want. You will see we're gonna work with some of these hooks, and there is a big chance that some of projects that you've been working on and they're already using some hooks, some sort of hooks. But now, today, we're gonna just look into those hooks ourselves and find out what else can we do with those hooks. I'm gonna give you the gist, I'm gonna give you the clue, and just open the basically windows for you. Then you can do whatever you want to do based on your programming language, based on your services, based on what you really want to do with those in those scenarios. So there is no limit, and you can do anything with them. Okay, so basically, let me just go quickly and open terminal here. So here we have a project. The project is just like main, it's written with Go, but it doesn't matter. It could be anything. We will add some stuff here which is not Go related, so you can see it doesn't matter what we're going to use. It could be basically anything. And our project doesn't have Git. First thing we need to do is to initialize a Git repository here. So we are doing Git init, and then it's going to give us the Git repository. And also, as you can see, we're having .git directory. Usually you're not going to see it in Visual Studio Code or most of IDEs, because you don't really have to go here. You don't really have to do anything here. As I said, you're not going to see it, but if you want to see it in your Visual Studio Code, all you have to do, you need to go to the settings of Visual Studio Code, for example, and look for exclude. And in the exclude, you need to look for the files And here, usually you have Git. So either you can remove it or just rename it to something else. So these are the list of directories that Visual Studio Code, for example, in this case, is going to exclude and doesn't show on the left side, on the Explorer side. So I just rename it to 2. That's why you are going to see it here. And if you don't see it again, for whatever reason in your IDE, let's say you're using different IDEs, every time you are in the any Git repositories, if you just do cd then .git, you have, okay, we are getting this one, it doesn't matter, ignore it for now, but you have this directory. And then if you do ls, you can see there are a bunch of files here. It doesn't like it, I understand why, but let's just assume, ignoring this error for a few seconds, because usually you don't really have to do anything in this directory, because it's going to, if you don't know what you're doing, you can break a lot of stuff, and it will be like, it could be a disaster at some degree if you just don't know how to fix it again, but, or if you don't have a backup. But here again, so we have a Git directory, you can see the Git directory, and we're going to work on this Git directory. One of the directories that we're going to use is hooks. So if you go to cd hooks, and now if you do ls, now you can see we have a bunch of files here. All of these files end with .sample extension, and in order to enable them, we need to remove the .sample file, and then they are ready to be used. So we can use them in any sort of, like, you know, for any sort of hooks. So we're not going to work here. We just want to directly work on the Explorer here, so you can see and you can visualize them. So let me just quickly get out of the Git directory. So I am in the root directory at the moment. And now we have these files on the left side. As I said, you need to do 2 things. First, you need to make sure your code, these files don't have .sample extension. So if you are going to, for example, work on a commit message, all you have to do is to remove the .sample. So that's the first step. Now, whenever we're going to commit something, this hook is enabled. We can do something with it. And the next thing to do is to make sure this file has the right to run or execute. So if you want to make commit-msg executable, all you have to do is to say chmod +x, and then go to the Git, for example, and then hooks, and then let's just say commit message. So now our file is executable. Do you have to do it for all of them? It really depends on your system. If you can run them, then that's how you're going to do it. So you're going to make the file executable. That's the only thing you have to do. Now that you are here, you can just do pretty much anything. And we are going to talk about a few of these commits. Then you will see the power, and then you can use them in any way that you just like to just use them with your project and in your machine. Okay, let's just clear this one and see what do we have here. There are a few things that we need to know before we just go and update these files. So some of these hooks are related to when you commit a message. Some are when you related to merging. Some are when you cloning a repository or checking out a different branch. Some are when you're pushing to like a to origin or to GitHub, for example. And in these cases, we're going to work on a few of them. We're not going to tackle all of them because pretty much it will be repetitive, and it really depends on what do you want to do on those hooks. But I'll give you the direction how you can use them, and then you can just benefit and do whatever you think is right for your services and project. So the first thing we want to do is git message. So git message is run after we put the commit message. So if you just, for example, say git commit and then press enter, then it will let you add some message, and then when you save it, then that's the moment this hook will be triggered. Or when you just say git commit -m for message and then you write your message, the moment you press enter, this is the moment that we trigger this commit. Okay, but there are more commits, there are more, I would say, hooks that we can use for the commit. but to just start it, we're going to use this one. So as you read this file, which all of them are pre-populated by the Git, you can see it says, to enable this hook, rename the file to commit message, means remove the .sample one. And then it's just giving you some examples, and then we can see it. But I just want to make sure we are here when we are going to commit something. All I'm going to do is just to say equal sign here, so it's easily noticeable when we see in our log, and then we will move on. To be honest, I don't need any tests, so I'm going to ignore this one. And then now, let's see what do we have here. We have quite a few files. I'm going to add them all. And now I'm going to git commit-m, and let's see this one, first commit. The moment I press enter, this hook will be triggered. So to prove the point, we're going to do this one. But if I zoom, if I just make this one a little bit bigger, you can see first it ran this file, then it goes and commit the messages we have. Okay, so it's very important to know what do you want to do at this stage. For example, one of the things that you can do in a commit message hook is to make sure everyone using this project is following some sort of conventions or standards. So you can check for the message. For example, we use first commit. Maybe you're following different like set of standards, and that's the moment that you can check for all of these things and make sure everyone is following that one. We're gonna get there with some examples, but before we get there, let's just add and work on different hooks. Okay, now let's just pick another one. The next one that I want to talk to you is pre-commit. So all I have to do, I'm gonna remove the pre-commit. Just leave it like that, and let's basically, okay, do we need all of these things? Pretty much no. I'm gonna get rid of all of them, and now I'm gonna paste just some sort of code. Basically here, all we are trying to do is to say you cannot commit anything to main branch. Pre-commit is actually get triggered before we just even commit anything. As you know, commit message is after we type our message, it will check it, but pre-commit is before that. We will see it in example in a few seconds. But what we are trying really to do is to say, if you're in the main branch, don't do anything and exit. So one thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning was whenever you put exit, or if you exit with any code other than 0 in any of these hooks, then the process will stop. Whatever you were trying to do. So if it was related to commit, then it will stop in a commit before it commit. Or if you're going to merge something and then we are triggering, or we working with, for example, one of the merge hooks, then it will stop the merge. So remember this one. That's why we are just sending, for example, here exit 1 means we don't want to continue. And what we are doing here, we're just getting the branch name, and we are saying if the branch is main, then you say you cannot commit on the main branch, because probably we want to have everyone work on the PRs and different branches, then there is a code review and etc, etc. That's why, for example, we are stopping it. So we don't want anyone locally work on this branch. So let's see it. And now we are in the main branch, as you know, you can see here as well. And if I do git branch, there we go, we are using main branch. And the moment that I'm going to commit something, let's see what happens. So what I have to do is I'm going to just create a file. Let's call it 1. So you can see now we have 1. It doesn't matter whatever is in the file. That's not the whole point. What we want to do is to just say, okay, not here. So here I'm going to do git status. So we have 1 file. So let's add it. Now we have it here. And now say git commit. And let's just put the message. And what we want to say, let's say add file with name 1. Yep. Okay. Let's see what happened. The first thing that happened is actually trigger the pre-commit hooks. It's come here and it says you cannot commit to main branch directly. So it didn't even go to commit message. So that's the first thing happened when you want to commit a message. So we have this error, let's fix it. I'm gonna go to Git and change the branch, Git checkout -b, so we are checking out and switching at the same time. And then I'm going to call my branch, for example, in this case, let's call it best, let's say it's the name of our project, and then our ticket number is 100, so that's a good convention to begin with. So we have our project name or our ticket number, whatever is that, so it's best 100, and then let's say dummy branch. Not a very nice one, but we have a branch name. Now if I want to commit something, I should be able to do it. Let me just quickly see. I still have the one, it is already added. So now if I do git commit-m, and let's trigger quickly, for example, add file name, add file with name 1. Now everything is much better. So the pre-commit hook, everything was well, because we didn't really, we just passed this condition. It could be anything. And then we are going to commit message hook. So we go to the next one, and then, well, we're not really doing anything at this stage here, but all we wanted to do is to make sure we can pass this step. You can see the power, you can feel the power now, because you can do anything. You can use a shell script, so you can write whatever you want. There is no limit on this one. There is one more thing that I need to mention, is that here we're just saying this is the type of this file. So you could use Python, you could use, for example, a binary, a Go binary, it could be anything. So there is no limit again on this one. As long as you can run that file, that will work. And because I have Go, and because I also have, in this example, I also have Node.js, again, if I go to pre-commit, I can just do even more stuff. So here, let's see, we have a directory and it's called hooks, and it's a JavaScript file. To be honest, it doesn't do anything, but I just want to demonstrate that we can run any file, anything. So we are in our pre-commit, and the next thing that I want to do is just to run the file. While you're in the hook, your current working directory would be the root of your project. What I mean is that, so if I want to just go and run this file, pre-commit hook, precommit.js, all I have to do is to say node and then hooks, then precommit.js. So because it's a JS file, you can just pretty much, if you know JavaScript, you can do anything here, basically anything. But still, we are not running the JavaScript inside this file. We are just calling it with Node.js. If you're using Ruby, if you're using, I don't know, Python, if you're using anything else, you can still call it with Python, or you can just make your file executable and then use it specifically in a set of, for example, pre-commit as a shell script. So you can just basically change all of it and then do something else. So we have the Node.js, let's just run it. I'm gonna add another file quickly, touch2. So I'm gonna add the file, and let's commit this one, adding file with name 2. Okay, here is the fun one. So we are in a pre-hook one. Our code didn't break because of the branch name, so it's a good news. Then we are calling node hooks./precommit.js. So if I go to this file very quickly, hooks, precommit.js, it says precommit hooks in JavaScript. So that's basically it. I could run my file from these pre-commit hooks. And then it goes to the next one, which is commit message hook, and then it's just going to add it. We're going to add more stuff to the commit message in a few seconds, but there is one more hook. So basically we have pre-commit, which is going to look into the, before just you type your message and before you just commit something, it will look at it. Then we have prepare-commit-message. So we have prepare-commit-message, which is actually between pre-commit and commit message. That's the moment, for example, you can add a default commit message into your commit. So you can just, if you want to follow some standards or if you want to manipulate the commit message, that's the time. So let's quickly go to pre-commit message. I'm going to rename this one. Now it is enabled. Let's also get rid of all of these things. I don't really want to use any of them. Okay, and now I'm going to paste some code here. Basically, again, this is a pre-commit message hook. It runs between pre-commit and commit message. So that's the best place you can manipulate your, or just generate some predefined commit message. So let's just see what do I mean by this one as well. So this one just accept 3 arguments. So the $1, $2, $3. The first one is the commit message file. It's basically where we're going to put our message before it get committed. So when you do commit git commit-m or git commit, then those the message will be temporary in a file. So that's the $1. And then the next one is the source. Basically the source is when we are going to where the commit is coming from. Is it coming from git commit or git commit-m? So that's the second one, and the third one is the SHA. So is the SHA for the commit message. Okay, and it's only be used if you're going to amend the commit. If you don't have if you're not amending the commit, the SHA or $3 will be empty. And here again, we're just echoing them, nothing very fancy. I just want to show. And then I'm trying to get the branch name. So we're gonna get the branch name. And I'm going to create a ticket number because our ticket number, for example, was best and then 100. So if our then it will be actually it will be best 100. So if we are having, for example, if you're working on the project and we have the proper branch name, which was project name and then the ticket number, then maybe it would be the best to have that one in our commit message as a first thing. So then we are actually going there and putting this message, whatever is the ticket number, to our git message. Okay, let's see what do I mean. So here, let's do git commit. At the moment, you can see a surprise here. Now we could manage to update our git message, so we can just manipulate it. What we actually did, we just get the branch name, the first bit of it, and then, well, the first 7 characters. You can just really change these things any way you want, but here is just for demonstration. So we're trying to get the branch name or the ticket number, and then we're going to put it here. And then the next thing that I want to do, so let me just press I, and then I'm gonna remove these ones, and I'm gonna say add a new file again. So now this is my message, and then I'm gonna press escape, colon, WQ, so it's write and quit. Now I have the other file as well added. So you can see, so we had the pre-commit, then we have prepare commit. So with the prepare commit, you can see we were working on 3 things. Our commit message file, that's the temporary file that I was talking about. And here we have it again. Actually, we are doing it. So we forgot to log the commit source. Let me just quickly do it here again. Okay, so here is much better. We have the message, which is that temporary file. We have the commit source, which is empty because we didn't put it as a message. We just typed it after git commit. We didn't type it after commit with a -m flag. We just did it on the editor, and then the SHA, there is no SHA. Okay, what do I mean by this commit source is here? If we do, for example, let's add another file, -m, here is what I meant by the commit source. The commit source now it will be the message. So let's see it. Another file again. Okay, cool. Now we have the pre-commit. This time we have the commit source, which is message, and we add it to our repository. Okay, good. So nothing really, we're not really doing much here, but we are making, for example, we're adding the commit message. We're adding the branch name or the ticket number to the commit message by default. So they can update it, but here is the fun part. Now we're going to force it. We're going to make sure if the commit message doesn't have the ticket number, which is best 100, then we will abort and not move. So we're going to stop that in the commit message hook. And how we're going to do it is it's actually very simple. So I'm going to get rid of actually everything because we want to have a clean working just file here. So here we have actually one argument. The argument would be the file that keep the message temporarily. So we are having that one. So we're just echoing this one basically. And then we just call it input file just for the sake of argument. And then we're going to get the first line, and we want to make sure the first line actually has that ticket number, which is best 100. So let's see, that's the first line. And then we also know the branch. So the branch is best 100. So it's dynamic. Whenever it changes, it will also change and it will work as well. And then we are making sure if the first line or start line is just basically has this substring, which is the ticket number colon. And if it doesn't have, then it will just not accepting it. Let's see it in an example. I'm going to add another file. Okay, here I'm going to do git commit-m, and I don't want to follow this one, or I just want to give the wrong ticket number. First of all, let's just not follow it. Added a new file. So here we're not following the pattern that we want. The pattern is the first bit of the branch name, which is our ticket number. So I'm going to press this one. You can see we're coming here. It's just saying the bad commit message, see example, blah, blah, blah. So we are actually not committing the file. Now, if I do git status, our file is still here. We didn't log it. So let's now git commit-m, and I say, for example, best 1, 2, 3, 4, or then, I don't know, added another file. Let's see it here. Again, it doesn't really match our branch name, our ticket number. So we need to add our ticket number. This time, I'm actually going to use the correct one, and I'm going to bypass this one. So here, because I was using best 100 and our branch name or ticket number is best 100, then it could pass, and it just actually went to the next step. Okay, I will just clear this one, and all I want to show is now to see git log -- one line. So here it's much more fun because now we're actually having our branch, sorry, the last one is this one. Here we are having actually our commit following the convention we wanted. Just before that here, we could just type anything. We could type anything. And the reason you can see best 100 here in these 3 commit messages, because we are pre-populating them with pre-commit message hook. So that's why they're there. But you can see it again here. If I'm just doing, for example, let me add another file. And now if I do git commit, again, here, we just need to make sure we are still having the same format. If you don't follow the same format, it's not going to work. So if I press I and then press something else and then try to continue, again, I'm not going to pass it. Now if I do git commit again and then press I, and then let's just clean up and say added another file, again, and again, then okay, now if I do git log one line, you can see Now we are following the pattern. We cannot just commit whatever we want because we must have proper standards and conventions, and all of these things we are doing them with Git hooks. So again, you can run your test if you want. You can do a lot of other things that you have, and for the sake of argument, we also have a make file which run, like for example a go test, and we can just do this one. We can run it here as well. So before running any commit, or before just doing any commit, we can run our test as well. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just say make test. Basically using make, we are running this one, and it could be anything here. It could be a JavaScript, it could be Node.js, it could be whatever you want. There is no limitation. So I have the make file, I'm just calling make test, and it makes sure we're running our tests. So let's create another file. And also, before going there, I just really want to make sure our tests fail. So if I go here, it's go test, and we have main file really doesn't do anything because we're not looking to do something. But if you go to notify, we have SMS test is really trying to make sure it's true, and if it's not true, it's going to fail the test. Let's make the test fail here, and I'm going to call it false, because if you look at the SMS, basically it's returning true. Again, this is not the point of this exercise. We just want to make sure if our test fail, what's going to happen. So always this is returning true, and I'm testing it, and I want to make sure if it is not true or if it is false, then do something. And now if I do, for example, make test, you can see our test fail. And if I pass this one true, our test pass. Okay, so but we want to fail the test. So let me just do that one. Okay, our test now will fail, and all I have to do, I'm going to add a file. I'm going to just put the message. So our message would be, well, first we need to follow the convention, which is best 100. And then I'm going to say add another file. Press enter. There we go. It actually run our test because of because of commit message hook. It ran our file failed, and it couldn't add it. Now I'll go and make sure my tests actually pass. There we go. Now I still have it in git status, so I still have it there. Let me just do git add dot. Now I'm going to just commit the previous message. You can see our test pass, and we could have a commit. So all good now. Now we learn how to just stop our commit by, for example, running the test, or making sure our commit message has the proper format that we want, and many other examples. As I said, you're not really limited to anything. We could run a go command here. You could see it. We could just actually run JavaScript if you wanted. You could see we could run JavaScript, and there are many more things that you can do. Let me just delete these 9 files actually. So one more hook is post commit. Let me just copy and paste commit message. So let's just duplicate this one, and let's call it post commit. In a post commit, so post-commit hook, we can do pretty much anything again, because let's now say we have committed something and it's a time to send a message to someone, or just email somebody, or text somebody. Whatever we want to do, whatever makes sense for us at this stage is this one. So we can make sure also we are, for example, in the main branch, and if there is a commit into the main branch or master branch, then you can just send notification to someone. And well, I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to just show what we can do. We're just committing something. If everything is fine, then we will move on. If I do git status here, I have all of them. I'm going to just add all. So yes, they're here. And git commit -m. Here is best 100, and then remove dummy files. Okay, you can see we have the post commit hook as well, and then we are sending notification to someone very important. So I think notification is like this, but it doesn't matter here. By now we can see the power. By now we can see what we can do. We can stop a lot of people doing a lot of things here. But all of these commit and all of these hooks are in a client side, means in your laptop. It's not for the server. What I mean by server is when, for example, you push something to GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab. So basically these are the client side, but you also have the server side one. So let's talk about one more hooks and see what we can do with that. The next hook that I want to talk about is, let me just quickly copy and paste this one and rename this one. That will be post checkout. Means whenever you check out to a repository or to a file, check out to a branch or a file, this hook will be triggered. So here we're talking about the post checkout hook. Basically, it happens when we check out to a new branch or check out a new file. And as you can see, we have three arguments. So the previous head, the new head, and the checkout type. And we're just logging out. Basically, we're not going to do anything. And if the checkout type is 0, means it was a file checkout, we can't do pretty much anything. But if it is a post, if the checkout type was not 0, which means it was 1, then we can, it means we are switching branch, and we can do quite a lot of things. So we can build a project again in this example, or we can do pretty much anything. As I said, we can do anything we want with Git hooks. And let's check this one as well. So we are already in this branch. I am going to, for example, another branch, Git checkout. So let's call it auth issue, authentication issue. I'm going there, and now you can see, now we were not committing anything. Here we're just checking out, and then we have the previous head, new head, and checkout type, and etc, etc. So you can see everything in this example. I think at this stage we can see the benefit and the power of Git hooks. You can use them for pretty much anything. You can do whatever you want based on your requirement. You can just notify someone, stop someone from committing or merging or rebasing or a lot of these things. Here is just basically some of the examples in a Git hook for the hook in a hook directory. But if you go, for example, and search on the Google, you can see there are many more hooks that you can just benefit from them. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's just worth mentioning two things at this stage. First of all of these hooks that we were talking about, they're all client side. Means you only run in your machine, on your laptop, nowhere else. And you need to find a way to just share these hooks with your team members. So one way of doing it is basically what we did here. So we're just calling a file, and that's how you can just do it. For example, you can have a hook directory in your project, and inside any of these hooks, you can just call those files, and the problem will be solved. So they're gonna run in your machine, and you can just do everything that you want with them. And the second thing is, these hooks are only limited to this repository. We're gonna learn how to just actually run them for every repository in your laptop or in your machine as well in a few seconds. So if you go to this website that I will share the link as well, and it's in a Git, you can see we have server-side hooks as well. So in addition to the client-side hooks, you can use a couple of important server-side hooks as a system administrator to enforce nearly any kind of policy to your project. Basically, what it means is that, for example, the moment that you can do anything in your laptop, and if you're, for example, committing something, and if you want to get rid of, for example, bypass that policy, you can just put -- no verify. For example, now we are in the best 101. Let's just quickly add something. So if you remember, now we have a policy to our message should start with best 101 because it's our ticket number. So if I do this one, something which not follow the convention. So if you just do this one, it doesn't work because that's a bad message. But all I have to do to bypass this one is to just say -- no verify. And now everything is fine because we ignore that check by no verify. But if you go back here, that's only in your client side, but you have server side as well. So you can just stop a lot of things and enforce a lot of policies in the server side hooks that I don't have any access or you don't have any access, only like the admin of the organization or admin of the repo has those sort of permissions. So basically we have some of them. We have pre-receive, so it's before receiving anything to the server, then this hook will be triggered. Then we have update, which is here, and we have post receive as well. It's after receiving something to the hook, after receiving something to the server. For example, you can notify people, or you can just trigger the CI because now you have received something. And if you look at the GitHub PRs, for example, the moment they receive something, the moment you push something, and this is what happens. And if you have, like, for example, GitHub Actions or CI, they will trigger them, and that's where exactly these things were configured. Okay, so now we know about the client side and we know about the server side. As I said again, these client side configs are not just limited to these ones that we were talking about. There are a few more that also, if you look into the Git documentation, or if you look on the internet, there are many more that you can just benefit from them. Now I'll move to the last part, which is how to share all of these commit hooks with every repository you have in your laptop or in your machine. And one way to do it is just to, for example, copy all of these files into a directory. That directory should be somewhere, anywhere that you want, and then you're going to run a few commands, and then that will be it. For the purpose of this tutorial, I've created a directory, a hook directory inside my download directory or folder, and then I'm going to use this one as a source for every repository that I have. So if I just go to cd, as you can see now, I have hooks directory, and if I just go to cd hooks and do ls, I have all of these files. So you can just add them or do whatever you want, but make sure, for example, if you're here and using Node.js and then you calling that file should also exist in your repository. If it doesn't exist, it's not going to work. The same for the make one, for example. We're using make. If you don't have make test, then something will break. But assuming that file is not the issue, now all we have to do is to just say git config -- global core hooks path, and then path to the directory. Now if I add this one, I just don't have to be worried about anything else. Now I'm in the root directory. Let's go to the desktop. Here in the desktop, I will create a new directory and initialize a Git repository there. Okay, I am going to close the VS Code because I don't need it anymore. So here we created this directory. There is no Git repository in it. So I will create or initialize a Git repository here by git init. And now I will see what file do I have. I have a file called 1. So that's just a file. I will add that file. And now if I do git status, so we have this file, I'm going to commit my message. So git commit -m, and then here, let's say add a file. Okay, we are gonna get a few errors. Let's find out what are the errors. One is in a pre-commit. The other one, number 2, is fine. Number 3 is the bad commit message. Obviously, the commit message wasn't correct because we're not really following the standards, but let's see how we can fix them. Okay, to begin with, we are getting the fatal ambiguous head unknown revision or path. And then if we go to our download directory where we put all our hooks, I'm going to open it in the Visual Studio Code. And as you can see, pretty much, I think it doesn't like this one. So if I try to run this command here, would it work? No Git repository here. Oh, sorry, we're in the wrong place. If I run it here, no. Let's copy this. And if I paste it here, I'm gonna get the same error. Means this command pretty much is not correct. Maybe we should get the branch name differently. So let's use this one, git branch show current. And now if I just move here and use this one, now let's see what do we get this time. So I'm gonna commit again the file. Let's see what do we get. Okay, we are gonna get in a pre-commit hooks, we cannot commit anything to main branch. So let's change our branch. Okay, so now we are in a new branch. Now we can commit. Now if I do git status, I still have that file. I'm gonna say git commit -m. Here again, we are looking, if you remember. So if I go to commit message, we're looking at the first 7 characters. You really need to play with these numbers because different project has different things. But because, for example, all my projects are best and then at some digits or 3 digits, then I look at these 7 characters. But you can just really do a lot of things by looking at your configuration. So, but here I'll be best 100, 101 basically, not 100 because that's our branch name. And I'm going to put colon and then let's just call it another file, which is not related to background, but here is just the gist of it. Okay, I'm gonna press this one. As you can see now, pre-commit was fine, prepare commit message was fine, a branch name also, sorry, the commit message was fine, post commit also is fine. Now if I change my branch to whatever else branch that we have, so if I do git checkout -b and then let's call it best 102 something else. Again, now we are changing our branch and again we are triggering a different git hooks. So we have all of these things actually here at the moment. We don't need to be worried and we have it for every repository that we have in place. Okay, I think here is just at the end of the video and I'm gonna leave it to you and with your imagination and whatever you want to do with git hooks. As I said, there are many git hooks that we didn't talk because it really depends what you want to do with them, but now you know how to work with them. Either you can just work on a repository basis, which you go to .git and /hook, you find the file and then remove the .sample from the file name, and then you can do whatever you want. Or the other thing is to just do what we have done here. You copy those hooks that you want, you can just paste it around, you can give it to other engineers in your team because everyone should follow the same pattern. And then you can run them on a client side and you can just add it to the Git by the command we talk about, and everything would be good to go for every repository that you have. If you have a repository that was just had before these hooks, then all you need to do is to just say git init, and then trust me, it's not going to break anything. You already have the Git repository, but it's going to pick the new changes from the hook, and the new hooks will be also applying changes or stopping changes from now on. So no worries if you already have existing, all you have to do is to say git init. Here we are at the end of the video, and I just need to mention, please don't forget to share, like, subscribe to the channel. And as you know, you can just leave comments and talk to me about what else do you want me to talk about, for example, in these Git hook scenarios or many other topics that I have not covered, so I can just look and think about them for the future videos. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.